What's up guys, Doomsday here. Today we're back again, and in this video we're going to be playing some Rammus in the jungle. So Rammus is definitely one of the most controversial champs. Some people think he's a complete monster in the late game and just overall a pretty good champ that's just underrated. Some people think he's just complete trash and just because he's too weak in the early game. And really it just varies from person to person, but I actually thought I'd give him a shot, and I personally do think Rammus is a solid choice, especially if played right, but I do think you have to play him in a very, very specific way. So of course, Rammus's weakness is definitely that his early game is super weak, but then his late game is complete monstrous. So really, it's just all about playing the early game right and making sure you don't fall behind. Because as long as you stay even, and if you make it to late game, you're going to just completely tank up so much damage and provide so much CC for your team. So I really do think that you have to play Rammus in very, very specific team comps. So some examples of when you don't want to play Rammus is if you have 3 weak laners, because Rammus really needs other laners to help cover for him, just because, for example, if a fight breaks out in the river or something like that and all your laners are losing, they're all pushed back, you're not going to get any help at all, and you're just going to get bullied out by the enemy jungle, and that's one good scenario. So over here, I actually didn't have my roll up, so I was not able to get a good gank off, so I still got the taunt. Let's see if we could pick him up. Maybe the Tryndamere can get him, and we do get the first blood. I think the Tryndamere goes down here, unfortunately, but that's definitely worth it. We did get the first blood for that. So now I'm looking for this bot side scuttle, and I'm going to tell you the very, very specific reason why I picked Rammus in this match. And it's solely because of Pantheon, pretty much. Pantheon plus Darius. Because one of the strong suits of Rammus is definitely his crowd control. He has the stun with his first ability, plus the taunt with his third ability. And that's just so much crowd control for your team. Now, in the early game, a lot of people really, really underestimate crowd control. So, for instance, I've gone up against Rammus a bunch, and I've kind of learned the hard way, honestly, myself. But some people underestimate Rammus so much. They think, oh my gosh, he's so weak in the early game. I'm just going to go and run into him and try and kill him. And then, boom, they just die. And that's solely because people just don't realize how strong these crowd controls, like a stun for like 1.5 seconds in this early game, followed by a taunt or something, is just completely insane. And the reason why I picked him with the Pantheon is because you can chain these stuns. So we're going to see as this match goes on, I'm really, really going to work on chaining my stuns and my taunts with my teammates. So for instance, imagine in the early game, a Pantheon stun followed by a taunt by Rammus, followed by a stun by Rammus. You can't move for like 4 seconds with that. So here, we're going to get a small glimpse. I taunted way too early, actually. I'll talk about that in a second. So sadly, Wukong does show up, and we go down here, and I kind of have to back off. But I'm actually going to say I did taunt very early there. Because one thing about crowd control, about stuns, taunts, roots, etc., is they do not stack. So for instance, if somebody's halfway through a taunt and then you stun them, you're going to waste one of those because they won't stack on top of each other. It's just going to be the longer one that goes. So you can actually see if you look back over there and if you watch that again, you can kind of see how long the taunt timer was on top, how much longer the stun timer from the Pantheon stun was. So I should have waited for that to get lower before I taunted him. But now I see them going for this, and I accidentally run into the minions. I forget I'm not playing Nunu. I've been so used to playing Nunu lately that I forget I can't run through minions with my first ability. But notice what I'm doing here. I'm playing a lot towards this bot side of the map, and that's, again, because I really, really want to play with this Pantheon, and that's my main win condition, pretty much, of getting through this early game. Because having all that crowd control in the early game is really solid, and that can pretty much make you 1v1, or not 1v1, but skirmish pretty much any jungler that you want. Just by locking them up over and over. And that also sets up really, really well for your teammates, too. So that's why I'm playing towards this bot side of the map a lot. If I want to play towards the top side, it's going to be a bit obnoxious getting onto a Teemo, dealing with his role in invisibility and ultimate mushrooms and all that. So I really don't see too much incentive to going to the top side of the map. So over here now, the first objective spawns, and we're hovering it. I actually see the Wukong heading towards the top side of the map, so I start to head towards the side, and I'm keeping an eye out on that top side because I did see Wukong going up there. So I try to get a gank onto this Caitlyn. They flash out the way, and now I'm heading up towards the top side of the map to check out if they're up to anything over here. And I do see that they're on this. Now, one thing I do have to be very careful of is the Wukong ultimate. And you're going to see I make sure not to group up with my teammates lots over here. He tries to taunt, or he tries to ultimate me. I misclicked my ult there. I did not mean to do that. But I was able to pick up the Herald there. So now I see this Caitlyn here. And you can kind of see if you chain your abilities with your teammates, you can lock them up for so long. So now this Teemo's here. This poor Teemo. There's nothing they could do. I knock him up. They get pulled by the Darius. And now we get this first turret here. So now the dragon is still up, and I'm actually looking to really play for the dragon. I accidentally canceled my recall there. I did not mean to do that. I'm really wanting to play for this dragon now, and that's for one specific reason. If you didn't notice, at that Herald, the Wukong, he used his ultimate there, and that's really the key part of Wukong. So I played a lot of Wukong. Wukong is like the champ that I played the most to get to Grandmaster. And I can comfortably say that without your ultimate, Wukong is not a very good champ. You're very ultimate dependent, especially on these big team fights. So I'm perfectly fine with forcing a fight at this dragon against a Wukong. Because if he shows up, he's not going to be able to do too much. If he jumps out here, and I see he's not even on this side of the map anyway, so that's actually a good choice for him not looking to contest this, because they would probably get team wiped, honestly, with all 5 of us here, or all 4 of us. Plus with the Darius ones way back. So actually that Thresh can knock me out of my role, which is a bit obnoxious, but I see the Wukong here kind of backing off towards my teammates. Really just trying to play safe and not feed in the early game, because if you feed in the early game with Rammus, it is over. Like, once you fall behind, it is just so hard to catch back up. So you can see I'm just kind of playing safe. I'm trying to play around my teammates and just keep on farming up. But times that I pick Rammus, one, into a lot of attack damage, because his second ability deflects a lot of attack damage. So I think in this match, they have 3 main attack damage champs and then 1 ability power. So this is a fine match to pick Rammus. And then, now I'm actually trying to catch this Teemo rotating, as you can see. That's one really strong part about Rammus, is his rotating is so fast with his Powerball. So you can see I'm able to kind of zone off the Teemo there, so we're able to get the second tier turret. And now I see that the Wukong used his ultimate, and I'm looking to re-engage here. Sadly, I kind of screw up that ult, but just look at all this CC that we have. Me plus the Darius, they literally were not able to move at all. And that's another condition that I'd want to pick Rammus in, is high crowd control comps. Champs like Twisted Fate, Pantheon, etc., things like that, where you can easily chain your stuns and taunts and everything. So now, pushing in that first turret, I'm looking to see if I can get maybe 1 plate off this mid turret, get some extra gold. That Thresh hook comes out of nowhere, and I take turret aggro, unfortunately, but I barely survive that. Have like 1 HP. So now, regening my health, and for the build, I'm just going Thornmill into Stone Plate. Those are the first 2 items I'm getting. And then the rest really is situational. Whatever defense items you need, you can get. You can get a Sunfire if you want the extra damage and clear speed help. You can get Randuins if you need anti-crit. I think I do build Randuins this match, actually. Randuins and Frozen Heart, I think I build both of them, actually. Just for the Caitlyn plus the Tristana. I think that's a lot of crit damage there. So now I'm keeping an eye on this, and you can see I'm really just not forcing it, and I'm really trying to find isolated targets. That's my main goal with Rammus. Is finding these squishy targets that are by themselves. Because you can really chase down these targets, and especially in the early game, those are the main targets that you're going to be finding out at this stage of the game. Just these lone ADCs that are wandering alone. Since with their Powerball, you could chase down pretty much anybody, taunt them up, stun them up, and then your teammates can follow up pretty easily. So now I see that Heraldor, and actually am pinging retreat. Let's not do that, just because you can kind of tell we don't have the advantage. They're still a bit ahead of us. So what do I do instead? I look for a play on the opposite side of the map, and I actually look for a dive here. So I land the stun plus the taunt, and you can see we're able to just completely delete them. So they do get the Herald here, but that's totally worth it in my opinion. We got a kill, plus we're going to get this turret here. And that's a smart play by us. Pretty much we just got ourselves more gold, which is what we want. Because by getting more gold, we're going to get our items, our power spikes, and it'll definitely be looking better. So that's something that you could do is, instead of fighting an objective that you might not win or might just be a coin flip in a case like that, we might all just get Wukong ulted, destroyed by some mushrooms from Teemo or something. So we heard this Wukong's trying to get onto me. I'm able to taunt him into the knockup, and he's just dead. See what I mean by just chaining your abilities? It's just so strong. Like, he was like half health when he was onto me, and I was literally like 2 shots away from being dead. But that was a good play there. We got a lot of gold. Now we got some good positioning, and we can look to fight for this dragon now, maybe. Yep, we just wiped 3 of them, so we're able to pick up this dragon here. So pretty much you don't want to force objectives early if you don't need to. You really want to be looking for gold is the main thing as a Rammus in the early game. Gold and levels are super key. I wouldn't say dragons are the most impactful, because if you reach the late game with Rammus, like, I don't think dragons will have too much of an impact, just because a late game Rammus is so strong. You can see right now, like, look how tanky I'm getting, and I'm not even that high level yet, and I don't have many items. So, like, having to give up a dragon or 2 or a herald, it's not the end of the world. But instead of just giving those objectives up and getting nothing, you definitely want to be looking to make a play on the other side of the map. Like how we did with that Tristana. Because you can turret dive pretty well with Rammus. Can tank so many turret shots. And that Wukong he was out of here. So that Tristana just jumps away. And you can see how big the difference is from before that Herald, where the enemies had the full positioning and they're able to go for that Herald, versus now. Just because we're able to open up the map so much more by getting that first tier bot turret. And over here, I see them chasing, and we're able to just completely delete them. Still have my stone plate up. So look at all these stuns and taunts. And now, dipping out of here. But yeah, honestly, I'd say this is the way to get around Rammus's early game, is pairing up with the right champs. I wouldn't really first pick Rammus or blind pick it. I would always want to see the team comp before I pick it, though. Because it can be a very coin flip champ if you are unsure about the early game especially. So over here, this Tristana tries to get onto me. I still have my Guardian Angel up, so she's not able to kill me. And your jungle clear speed is not that bad. After your first 2 or 3 clears through your jungle, your clear speed becomes pretty solid. The first clear is definitely a struggle, I will say. If you can get a leash, I would definitely want to ping it and try and make your teammates give you a leash. Because your first clear speed can be a problem. And what that leads to is, if your first clear speed is really slow and you take a lot of damage, then that makes it so scuttle fights can be hard if that does happen. So you're really going to just pay attention to the scenario, and if your teammates are able to rotate for the fight or along those lines. So over here, I just ult in, flash plus taunt, and they are not able to get away at all. So as you can see, once you start getting some momentum with Rammus, it's so hard for the enemy to do anything. So now this Baron's up. I'm looking to take it if my team is willing to follow up. The enemy jungler is dead and seems to be free to take this. So as for the runes, definitely go Aftershock into... my teammates are dying to this. Definitely go Aftershock into Brutal. And then the third rune is probably one of the most controversial ones, I'd say, for Rammus. There's conditioning. So conditioning pretty much makes it so you scale better. You get more armor and magic resistance every 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, you start getting additional defenses. But the main argument against that is your late games are already good enough. Once you start scaling, you already have enough armor and magic resistance, and you really just need something to help you in the early game. So for early game skirmishes, bone plating is pretty solid. Or you could just go Hunter Titan if they have a lot of crowd control. That's also a good choice. So you can go a lot of things for the third rune. And then for the last rune, I go Hunter Genius for the extra cooldowns. So now we got the Baron buff, and we're looking to push these. I kind of screwed up my ult, I think, but look at this. I kind of trolled that Darius. I just totally dodged that, so I nailed him. And I accidentally misclicked my stone plate. It's fine, though. We just back off to this dragon here, and yep, looks like I'm building into the Randuins next. So if you're seeing my teams here, the Pantheon ults in, I taunt, and they're pretty much on the run now. We have so much gap closing with this team. Like, we can cover so much distance with my Powerball plus the Pantheon ult. Plus with the Darius pull too, anybody that's mispositioned, we could totally capitalize on. But now, let's see if we're able to end here. Let's see. I still have my Guardian Angel, so I'm not too worried. It does not look like we're able to end, actually, and we have to dip out of here. That was unfortunate judgment, but clearing their jungle on the way out, I'd definitely say that's something super key is on the way out, if you can grab any of the enemy jungle, that's super important. So now we got a decent amount of gold, got the Randuins, and now we're building into Frozen Heart. Pretty much this is just going to make it so I'm unkillable, because most of their damage is from their attack damage carries with Tristana and Caitlyn. But if I have a Randuins plus a Frozen Heart, their attack speed is going to be completely destroyed, so will their damage will be reduced, and they literally won't be able to do anything. So now I just ult onto this Thresh, he flashes out, the Pantheon ults in, and see what I mean? We could just chase these people down for days. The Tristana ults me away, but the Pantheon still gets the stun. I get the knock up into the taunt, and they literally try to use everything to escape, but they were not able to. So sadly, we went way too far out. Our Darius and Jinx weren't even with us. We were just having a bit of fun there, chasing down that Tristana. That definitely was not the move, because all our teammates were not in position, but where's the fun in not trying? Air tilting him a bit, just running him down completely. Ooh, let's see if this Darius looks like he wants to make a play. Oh, the proto build into the pole. Oh, he needed to use his spinny ability. Wait, oh my god, that was so bad. That was sad. Oh, plus the barrier. Oh my gosh. That was so unfortunate. They just got trolled so hard. They needed to use their spinny thing. I think that's their first ability way sooner on the Caitlyn. Right after they pulled him, they should have used it instead of waiting. Because the Caitlyn has the ability where they use the net thing and jump back. So if you wait too long, they're just going to use that and get out of range. So that was just a bit unfortunate. Oh, that was my first death. So as you can see, like, one thing I was being super cautious of is dying and just feeding him early. Because one thing about dying is a lot of people, they don't think about this. But like, when you die, you lose seconds of farming, seconds to get levels in gold. And just by dying, even if you think it doesn't give anything to the enemy, it really does hurt you. Just because now you can't farm up and stuff. So you want to do a pretty good job of trying to stay alive so you can keep on getting gold and XP. But now they're all here, and I don't know if they're going to look to turret dive a Rammus, but that's not the move. Oh, who's over there? Tryndamere? What's he doing? Yeah, I saw that Thresh there. That Thresh had been canceling me out of my Powerball quite a lot this match, so I was starting to be more careful of that. Now, got my Powerball going, jump in. I don't know where everybody went, but I'd sadly go down. Yeah, my team again wasn't even in position for that. I think the Tryndamere kind of just got caught out, and it kind of just got turned into people running around. Oh, what is this Pantheon up to? Setting up warding. That's a good idea, actually, setting up warding. That's really good. But my main argument against that would be setting up warding on the blue side, because you can see the Elder Dragon just spawned, and actually Jinx is doing that right now, so that's good. Getting this deep vision inside of their jungle with these objectives spawning, that's going to tell us if they're coming to contest and who's around, and that's going to be really good vision. So now, this is a bit of a risk starting this up without me, but something I could do here is I could sell my stone plate and actually get a teleport and teleport in if this was a super crucial objective and it was like a get it or lose the match. But I looked up what my team had under wraps, and the enemy jungle wasn't around, so there was no need for me to do that. But in late game scenarios, that's definitely an option. If, let's say, one last fight's going down at the Baron, whoever gets it wins the match, definitely do sell your enchantment and get a new one. This Tristana tries to flash out, but like, look at that. They can barely move. We're able to take them all down there. So my ult CC plus my taunt and my first ability, yeah, there wasn't too much they could do there. And this Darius is just farming up kills, but I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below, as I truly appreciate the support. That's going to be it, and I'll see y'all in the next video.